dead nuts. Hey guys, I just wanted to take a minute, make a quick little video on my archery, or archery in general, I guess. A couple things. First of all, here we have a recurve, longbow, and a compound, which I refer to as block and tackle. You know, when it comes to archery or hunting or being outside or whatever your game is, you know, it's like in hunting, the deer or the moose or whatever you're hunting, the game is the objective. Okay, whether you're hunting partridge, white-tailed deer, mule deer, but the style is the obsession. When I say that, you've got someone, a traditionalist. Myself, personally, my favorite bow to shoot is this longbow. This is my longbow, but I've had a few. This is one I bought. We're in the process of making a couple actually out of ash, but you know, if you're a true traditionalist, and then you could even get into the self bows, which is even probably more of a purist approach to archery. But okay, so I got my longbow, the recurve, which I like because it's traditional, and it's much shorter, so if I'm shooting out of a tree stand, this is a lot easier to maneuver. And then we have the compound, which I can put, you know, I'm good out to about 50, 60 yards with this thing, okay? Now, that's quite a distance to be hunting with a bow and arrow, but with the equipment of today, it's very well, people do it all the time, and it distance is much greater personally, but I stick to the 50, 60 yard line. Some of the equipment, you know, I got my armband, arm protector. When you're shooting that longbow, this is my good best friend. You know, my fingers. Some people like a Western tab. Arguably, I think a Western tab is probably a better way to go, because the way the string comes off the tips of your fingers. With fingers, there's more of a, it's hard to explain, but I've shot with a Western tab, and you do get, watching the flight of the arrow, you get a lot less wobble. The string just comes off your fingers with a more a constant pat, what's the word I'm looking for, but it's just it's a smoother release consistently. I like the fingers because I can just grab that string, pull it back, and snap, you know, go. So I use these, although I'm a better shot with a Western tab, honestly. It's just not as quick for me. And then you've all seen these. This is our release for the compound bow. This is a True Flight. I think it's $100, I don't know. But anyway, and whether you're shooting, you know, wooden arrows, wooden bludgeon tips with flu fletching, which is, I love to shoot this arrow, just love it. This was designed to, so you can actually retrieve your arrow, and the bludgeon is for shooting small game. So you can knock it out of a tree and then go wring its neck to get it in the fry pan. And I always use a stringer when I'm stringing my longbows and recurves. You know, it's common practice. You should do that. Use a stringer, which I can demonstrate for you. But anyway, you know, there's a couple different ways to look at it. You know, but the whole point of this video is whether you're shooting a recurve, a longbow, or a compound, the whole point is get out there and practice, practice, practice as often as you can. Because the whole point of being consistent is it's all about muscle memory. When you pull that back and hold it, if you're holding it, you should be able to hold that bow for a minute, 10 minutes. And honestly, I'm not, it's through conditioning, it's through it's muscle memory, it's strength, it's, I know guys that are 140 pounds that can pull a 100-pound draw weight bow back and hold it there for a minute. Now that's incredible, because they've done it so many times. Their muscles are trained to that. And you don't have to go out and shoot at 50 yards or 20 yards, you can shoot at 5 yards. The point is, the more you shoot, you train your body every time you pull that back. And that's the trick to being a consistent shot. And whether you shoot instinctive, I shoot instinctive. Now there's a little bit of discrepancy as to what instinctive is. Some people sight down the string, some people sight down the arrow, some people just let it go. Okay, that's instinctive. But a trick to instinctive is, and I'm going to quote Byron Ferguson here, whether you're shooting at an aspirin tablet or a beach ball, the center of that target is the exact same size. The center of the target that you're shooting at is the same diameter as the diameter of that arrow shaft. So if you're out shooting, the old saying is, well, if you can put 6 out of 6 arrows into a 12-inch circle at 20 yards, you're good enough to go deer hunting, and that's true. And you'll be probably a very successful deer hunter. But when you're out shooting with your friends, and your friends got groups, like this, and they're getting Robin Hoods, and your arrows are, like this, you're saying, geez, I'm not really that good a shot. And the difference is, you're not practicing, you're not shooting at the center of that target. And when I say that, when you look at any target, whether you're shooting with sights or especially instinctively, look at the center, look at the dot, look at the X. Don't look at that 12-inch circle. And by doing that, your groups will go like this more consistently, because you're concentrating on the center of that target. And that's the biggest trick to being a better shot, I think, personally. Now again, I'm not a professional at anything, but I do know that adapting that technique has made me a better shot with my bow and arrow. So anyway, it's just something to think about. But the whole point of this stupid video is that get out there and shoot. And even if you're not shooting, if you live in an apartment, and you can't go out on the sidewalk and set up a target at 20 yards, that may be an issue in some states. Just do this. Bring it back and hold it. Bring it back and hold it. Just condition your, find your anchor point. That's another thing, obviously, but whether you grab the string like this, if you're a string walker, I'm not going to get into those techniques, but find your anchor point. Me personally, I put it right here, right in the corner of my mouth, whether I'm shooting my longbow or the recurve. When I shoot my longbow, I'm holding the bow like that, you see? It's a whole different, I don't have this bow straight up and down, okay? I shoot it like this. So, but either way, that's my anchor point. Now when I'm shooting with my release, I showed you in the other part, that's a whole different game. Kisser button, peep sight, nose on the string, 4 things going on. Kisser button's my anchor point, nose is on the string, eye looking through the peep sight, sight on the target. So that's the difference between shooting my compound with sights and a release versus the traditional way. You don't have to practice nearly as often with a compound because it's a system. It's a mechanical system versus a traditional. When it comes down to the traditional way, it's like throwing it's like throwing a baseball. There's no sights on a baseball. You just throw it. And if you get good at it, you can hit every time. Same thing. You throw, there's no, the mind's an incredible thing. You just bring it up and shoot. And the only way you're going to do it is practice. Yeah, so anyway, just hope that might get someone in the mood to go out and start shooting. Oh, speaking of shooting, I gotta get back at it.